Basic training number one. Alan Turing honored on banknotes.
A pioneer in both modern computing and the LGBT community is being honored in England. Alan Turing will be the face of Britain's new 50-pound note. Turing was the code breaker and visionary mathematician who cracked Germany's coded messages during World War II. He also played a pivotal role in developing computers. He was also convicted under Victorian homophobic laws, which eventually led him to commit suicide. The governor of the Bank of England called Turing a giant on whose shoulders so many now stand. The new notes will appear by the end of 2021.
Basic training number two. High-tech implants for the brain.
SpaceX founder Elon Musk's latest vision for the future is a way to merge your brain with artificial intelligence. Musk is co-founder of Neuralink, a startup which aims to implant a device in the brain that would communicate with an iPhone app and computers as well. Musk says the device could be used to improve memory, repair motor function, or just help people with cognitive defects. He says the trials could begin by the end of next year. Critics are warning about the risks of business enterprises gaining access to brain data.
CNN News Digest. Number one. Privacy concerns about FaceApp.
Looking younger, maybe even happier. Maybe even older. Because of a face app which uses artificial intelligence to transform pictures of faces. But there are concerns about privacy. At first there were fears face app could harvest all of the user's photos. That's actually been knocked down, but it can do what it wants with your selfie. And some people are bothered by that because the company is based in Mother Russia.
Number two. New European Commission President.
The European Commission is getting a new leader. Germany's outgoing defense minister is to be its next president. Ursula von der Leyen is the first woman to win the post after receiving European Parliament support to succeed Jean-Claude Juncker. Now, von der Leyen was confirmed by just 9 votes.
Number three. First Fortnite World Cup held.
The Fortnite World Cup has wrapped up its first ever massive sporting event in New York. And some of the youngest gamers won big. A 16-year-old American who plays under the name Bugha won the $3 million top prize in the solos division. That's the largest payout for a single player in esports. And get this, everyone who took part in Sunday's competition, even if they scored no points at all, takes home at least $50,000 just for playing.
Number four. Campaign to change dates of Halloween.
Well, some things are just meant to be. Christmas is on December 25th, New Year's Day, January 1st, and Halloween is on October 31st. After all, it is All Hallows Eve. It's been celebrated for more than 1,000 years. But the Halloween and Costume Association launched a petition drive to change Halloween to the last Saturday of October. The group says it would be safer and not interfere with work or school activity.
Number five. Massive reforestation project.
Ethiopia has broken a world record in tree planting. More than 350 million were planted in just 12 hours as part of a reforestation campaign led by the country's Prime Minister. But this is just the beginning. The overall goal is to plant 4 billion trees during the rainy season, which lasts until October.
Number 6. Drug-resistant malaria spreading.
Drug-resistant strains of malaria are spreading across Southeast Asia, raising fears of a potential global health emergency. 2 new studies have found the failure rate for the top 2 drugs used to treat Asian malaria skyrocketing across Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. Researchers are urging countries to adopt alternative treatments. Nearly 500,000 people around the world die of malaria each year. It is transmitted by mosquitoes.
CNN English Express special feature presenting a selection of handy expressions for meetings and other business settings. Let's listen to how the expressions are used in some examples.
All this week, we are looking at how artificial intelligence and robotics are changing the way people live in Japan, especially as the population rapidly ages. In this edition of Innovate Japan, CNN's Will Ripley takes a class in virtual reality with some tech-savvy seniors.
If we're being honest here, I'm a little confused. Okay, a lot confused. These people are old enough to be my grandparents. And they're teaching me about virtual reality. I'm at the University of Tokyo, learning how to shoot and edit 360-degree video. The kind of video that plays in these kind of silly-looking VR headsets. My classmates are all active adults and senior citizens. The youngest, 53. The oldest, 90. The videos they're creating will be shown to elderly patients who can't travel like they used to. 82-year-old Takeshi Makai is my study buddy.
This is a 360-degree camera.
You travel with this?
Yeah, I already traveled to Hawaii with this. When I showed the picture to my friends, they were so surprised.
What did they say?
Unbelievable.
So how will this change life for seniors?
Most of the senior people cannot move, travel, right?
So this lets them. In his previous job as a therapist, Kenta Toshima started using virtual reality to help Japan's aging population find joy and motivation.
Those who have lived for 80, 90 years, there aren't so many things they haven't personally experienced. Using this device takes them to a different place right before their eyes. They were extremely excited. I saw people stand up who don't normally stand up, who then start walking. It was so shocking.
One of my favorite parts was when you were pushing the fellow around on the wheelchair and you had the little segways on your feet. It seemed like that really brought you a lot of joy.
I'm sure it's fun for him, but I might be enjoying it the most.
Toshima has teamed up with University of Tokyo assistant professor Dr. Atsushi Hiyama, whose research is focused on applying technology to support Japan's hyper-aged society.
Even if our physical condition gets lower by use of virtual reality and internet connection, we can travel around in a virtual way, and we can still work and contribute to the society.
We're going to fulfil the repeated promises of Parliament to the people and come out of the EU on October the 31st. No ifs or buts.
Fighting words from the new Prime Minister, who laid out his vision for the UK with the usual oratorical flourish.
The doubters, the doomsters, the gloomsters, they are going to get it wrong again. The people who bet against Britain are going to lose their shirts.
These were Boris Johnson's first remarks as Prime Minister. Indeed, his first appearance today. He was notably absent from Parliament, perhaps not to overshadow his predecessor's last Prime Minister's questions. Theresa May didn't hold back from one last sparring match with the leader of the opposition, Jeremy Corbyn.
As a party leader who has accepted when her time was up, perhaps the time is now for him to do the same.
After this biting remark, May delivered her final farewell to Downing Street, wishing Boris Johnson good fortune and thanking the country.
To serve as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom is the greatest honour.
Failing to deliver Brexit will ultimately be Theresa May's legacy, one that saw her heading to Buckingham Palace to tender her resignation far sooner than she might have wanted. A change of the guard on Downing Street isn't just an historic moment, it's an emotional rollercoaster. There's empathy for the outgoing Prime Minister, particularly one who failed to deliver what she set out to do and faced so much division. There's then an eerie sense of calm, perhaps the calm before the storm, as everyone awaits the new Prime Minister. And of course, a huge weight of expectation. What will he say? What will he do? And ultimately, what will his legacy be? No doubt the Queen had some words of advice for Mr. Johnson when she asked him to form a government. After all, it's her 14th Prime Minister. And while Boris Johnson entered Downing Street alone, unlike his predecessors who walked in with partners and children, his girlfriend, Carrie Symonds, stood to the side in support.
We, in this government, will work flat out to give this country the leadership it deserves. And that work begins now.
And he was quick to appoint a new crack team. Sajid Javid takes the top role of finance minister, becoming the first Asian to hold that position. He bid for the leadership role against Boris Johnson, as did Dominic Raab, staunch Brexiteer and new foreign secretary and deputy prime minister. Completing the top team is another Brexiteer, Priti Patel, for home secretary. All change at the top, but potentially no change when it comes to division in parliament and the EU stance that it will not reopen the withdrawal agreement. Yet this Johnson-led government believes it can succeed where Theresa May's failed. Anna Stewart, CNN, London.
It used to be a nursery school for the children of Chernobyl. Now it's one of the morbid attractions for the tourist hordes exploring this nuclear exclusion zone. They're beeping radiation alarms, part of the creepy experience. This entire area was evacuated back in 1986 after the then Soviet Union acknowledged the catastrophic release of radiation from Chernobyl reactor number 4. It's also the dramatic backdrop for the recent HBO drama, which paints a terrifying picture of the Soviet regime in denial, leaving its own citizens in harm's way. Chernobyl, the miniseries, has been viewed so widely, it's credited with raising global awareness of the dangers of our nuclear age.
Well, I liked about how real it was and how intense it was. It kept in suspense, and then you realize it's actually it all happened in real life. And then after the show, I was watching a lot of documentaries, wanted to find out more about this, and I found out that there's tours there, and then you can come over.
You're not worried about radiation?
The way I understand is the risk of being here one day is like same as smoking 3 cigarettes, and I'm a non-smoker.
Tour operators say visitor numbers are expected to double this year as caution towards Chernobyl turns to curiosity. Walking through this nuclear ghost tank, you get a strong sense of the catastrophic dangers of nuclear power. I mean, how could you avoid it? But there's something much broader too, an idea that Chernobyl is a warning from the past about what can happen when governments try to hide the truth, and how even innocent people can be sacrificed to protect those in power. For some Chernobyl visitors like Ed from Texas, it's a message still relevant today.
I think it symbolizes a very strong need for not prevaricating about information, not lying about information, but being forthright. And a lot could have happened differently had the lying not taken place.
Chernobyl is the ultimate consequence, isn't it? What happens when governments fail to acknowledge reality, the truth.
Exactly.
But there are concerns, the horrors portrayed so graphically in the HBO series, especially of the so-called liquidators sacrificed to clean up the radioactive mess, are being trivialized by Chernobyl's tourism boom. But perhaps a few tasteless selfies are a low price to pay for relearning the terrible lessons of the world's worst nuclear disaster. Matthew Chance, CNN, inside the Chernobyl exclusion zone.
CNN newsmakers today, looking at the expanding field of plant-based and lab-grown alternatives to animal meat.
In the United States, the burger has been both celebrated as an American favorite, but also denigrated as unhealthy. Americans eat nearly 60 pounds of beef per year, which stacks up to a couple hundred hamburgers. The rise of a new generation of meat is predicted to change not only the beef industry itself, but also the entire global food production system. Take a look at these three burgers over here. Only one of them is actually made from beef. The other two from plant proteins. I've come to the Beyond Meat headquarters in El Segundo, California, to see the substance and the science behind this movement.
We have to solve this protein issue if we're going to have a sustainable planet, if we're going to have a healthy population.
The growing beef with beef, especially factory farming, is partly because research shows it's severely damaging to the environment. According to the UN, beef alone is responsible for 41% of livestock greenhouse gas emissions, such as methane and nitrous oxide. Those livestock emissions make up 14.5% of total global emissions. In Redwood City, California, Impossible Foods is another U.S. company at the forefront of the plant-based meat revolution.
Our mission is very simple. It's to completely replace animals as a food technology by 2035 globally. People are not wedded to the idea that meat has to come from animals. They're very wedded to the idea that they gotta have meat.
But is the Impossible Burger good for you? Nutritionist and CNN Health and Nutrition contributor Lisa Dreher analyzed three types of burgers: beef, Impossible, and beyond.
There is no doubt that by eating less meat and focusing more on a plant-based diet, you can improve your health and you can contribute to the healthfulness of the planet.
Dreher also found plant-based meat to be higher in sodium, with the Impossible Burger containing 370 milligrams of sodium, the Beyond Burger 390 milligrams. A pre-made beef patty has 65 to 75 milligrams of sodium, depending on the brand.
So, if you're eating these burgers solely for their health value, then you may want to reconsider.
Jan Dukevich, a Johns Hopkins University fellow, has perhaps a more optimistic view. We caught up with him in Mexico City, where he's researching animal farming.
There's a shift change in mainstream opinion about everything from animal ethics and animal welfare to acknowledgement that we're facing a number of major environmental crises, including a climate change crisis. If you're talking about cellular agriculture, that is to say clean meat or cell-based meat, here we're talking about a very real disruption of the food system as we know it. They're saying we can get something like meat without the animal.
CNN English Express Press Conference Report.